Hey YouTube, this is the Art of Prepping. Thanks for joining us on this channel. What we're going to be talking about today is peace on earth realistic? Peace on earth, so how do we define peace? I guess that's going to be the definition of not creating wars or fights or conflicts with each other. It could be from civil wars, or it could be a nation against nation, continent against continent, maybe race wars, depending on what you look like. It could be political wars. It could be all kind of wars. And so when we have these wars, it could even be a war over food, food wars, water wars, resource wars. Whatever these wars are about, is it possible not to have them, not to have any of them? Is this realistic? Well, I think that it would be a lot more plausible if we didn't have government stoking the fires of war. Of course, war is an instrument that we've seen being used against the people over and over. It helps to reinforce the institute of having a government and having also the institute of the military complex and industry. So it's in the government's best interest to have a war every once in a while, to have a little conflict, to keep the people just a little uncomfortable at all times, and sometimes a lot of uncomfortable, because they want you to think that if it's not for them, that you wouldn't be safe at all, ever. And so the reality is that governments are, and most of the time here, probably our main enemy. This is just a fact. It's kind of a big love-hate relationship with them. So when we come down to this, how do we kind of puzzle this out? So in terms of wars, if we didn't have any government, and I'm not saying we shouldn't have any government, I'm not totally an anarchist or anything like that, but I will say though that if we could minimize the governments of the world, and I mean shrink them down to little bitty types of organizations that were very manageable and 100% transparent, which would take probably an act of God to do. But if that was possible, I think probably 85 to 90% of wars and stuff would probably stop in conflicts. There's always going to be tribal wars and industry wars and things like that. Civilians against civilians or industry against industry. And I think that could probably be focused on at that point of what's going on. And I think that, you can't sometimes just regulate war out of existence. So like you can't put laws in the book to ban crimes because we know criminals don't obey by the law. There's laws on the book right now. You should not murder. You can't. Murdering someone is against the law, but people do it anyways. Just like running the red light is against the law, but people do it anyways. Just like people doing a lot of things that are against the law. So what? What's so interesting is how governments like to impose restrictions on law-abiding citizens, and the knowing that they'll abide by it, but of course everybody else won't when they're criminals. So they almost kind of a lot of laws appease and help out criminals to make it a lot easier to make the law-abiding citizens a lot more vulnerable. And we see that in a lot of the states that over-regulate, and they shouldn't even be regulating any of this, guns and, all this excess gun control measures. Please. Who's the law for? The criminal or for the law-abiding citizen? Well, it's for the law-abiding citizen. So why are you trying to limit their ability to fight criminals? Oh, because the governments that regulate these things and have all these gun control are criminals themselves. Oh, that's why. That makes a lot of sense. And so the tyranny there is pretty freaking obvious. And so, that's some of the reasons why we have conflicts, because we have unjust laws, unjust people, politicians. Some industries are in bed with governments and other types of elites and stuff that they do a lot of harm, that promote things in our, that are nasty in our water and our food, that spray things in our air. And so overall, I'd say that there's probably groups of people that could be found out over time pretty quickly if we had a more transparent system. But because things are so, entrenched in secrecy, we have a problem, picking these people out. And this is not by accident or anything. These people want to conceal themselves because they are in the wrong. So is it possible to ever have a peace on earth? Is this realistic? I don't think so. I think that humanity, there's always going to be evil, and you're going to have it in different forms. Even if we could make the perfect government system, you're still going to have individuals that are going to be imperfect, and so you're never going to have peace. And that's why you have criminals, and that's why you have law-abiding citizens, and that's why we always have to fight. It's an eternal battle. Some people say it's just kind of mimics or mirrors the eternal fight, in the spiritual world, and the good against evil there. If you believe that, some people say a lot of things. So, I think that overall that we just need to be mindful that there's always going to probably be people that make bad decisions. Some of them that don't have really bad intentions, but some of them do. And regardless, though, that the outcome could be that it could hurt us and our families. So we have to have those different types of scenarios figured out, and maybe a plan to overcome them. And prepping is one of those options. With prepping and learning skill sets, you learn to counter some of the threats that exist in the world, and you provide yourself solutions so that all you got to do is go to that toolbox, symbolically speaking, and pull out the answer and work it. And if that doesn't work, you would have redundancies until something does work, and or at least enough time to buy you time to get more resources to work it out. So I don't think it's possible, nor is it realistic to everything's going to be utopian great, and that just doesn't seem like that would work. Anytime we have free will and real freedoms, some people are going to exercise more than what their freedoms are. They're going to violate other people's freedoms in a sense, and because people are people, you can tempt someone for so long. It could be the best person in the world, but if you keep putting things out on a table at work every day, maybe you have, let's just say there's gold bars or gold coins every day on the manager's desk, and you're the one that leaves the last of the day, and they would never know. There's no cameras in there. If you took one of those gold coins, you may last 10, 20 years. You might be a very solid person, but one day you might just go, man, all these gold coins, I would love to get something for my wife. Maybe you don't make much there. You might steal that coin. You may not. You may actually be one of those few that can resist any kind of temptation. But I would bet that the average person would eventually steal one of those gold coins. And that's just kind of how we are. It's just basically being human. Is it right? No, it's not right. But there's a lot of things that we falter at some point, though, with so much temptation. Most people give in. Sometimes it doesn't take very much at all. Sometimes it really doesn't. For example, I've seen old ladies walking out of a convenience store, for example, and in their purse, they didn't put their money in there very well, and a $20 bill falls out on the ground, and it's obvious that it came from them. And you can see that the person who saw it come out of her purse knew that it came from her purse, but they went and swiped it and walked off the other way and act like they didn't even see that it came from her purse. And so there's situations like that. Some people are very greedy, and they don't respect other people's property. And so it's stuff like that too that you see that people vandalize other houses or other people's cars, and so there's a lot of people in this world who say that to themselves, well, if I don't have it and if I can't have it, then you shouldn't have it. And they don't put into account that maybe you worked really hard to have it, or you spent decades to get that job or to get into that position at work. And so there's a lot of people who don't have any longevity in their movements and their thoughts and their actions, and they're never working toward a goal. And those people are the ones that I think I fear the most, because they have the most propensity to do more evil, because they don't have nothing to lose. They have no focus. They're just wandering aimlessly. They're loose cannons. They're more apt to be tempted to do negative things against other people and society in general. So you have to be careful with those. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and turn this off here, but you guys be safe, and I'll catch you real soon.